Thanks so much, Scott. My name's Josef Bray-Ali. I live and work in the First District of Los Angeles, which comprises a lot of neighborhoods: Lincoln Heights, Cypress Park, Highland Park, Montecito Heights, Mount Washington, parts of Echo Park, Elysian Valley, MacArthur Park, Pico Union. Anyway, the story I wanted to tell is the reason why riding a bike has turned me into someone who not only owns a bike shop, but is going to run for city council and hopes to change things on the streets of Los Angeles. For me, a lot of this started back when George Bush was in office in 2003 and we invaded Iraq. That just crushed me. I'm a crazy left-winger, you know, and all those big protests that people had around the world happened and nothing seemed to come of it. We invaded Iraq, war and death and destruction, and I was a young 20-something living in Los Angeles in this Northeast LA neighborhood I'd recently moved to, just feeling so dejected and lost. And shortly after that, I went to this thing called Critical Mass, and I saw all these people of lots of different ages and groups and age groups and classes and ethnic backgrounds, and just riding bikes in this big horde in the streets of Santa Monica. And someone told me about this place called the Bike Kitchen, so I went to this Bike Kitchen place, which was a bike repair collective. And it just felt like I could feel the energy there. I finally felt like someone who could build something that was outside of the bounds of the whole, whatever the United States was at that moment, right? Something that was important and felt good and felt right, and that I could be a part of very easily just by going and sharing my time with others. So I started my own bike co-op in my garage in 2005 called the Bike Oven. And a few years after that, I met my wife, who was my girlfriend. I got her pregnant, we got married, and around that time, I think my car got wrecked, and I got some money from an insurance settlement. I had this crazy idea that my pregnant wife, pregnant girlfriend, was gonna give birth. That was the first crazy idea. And then the second was that I was gonna take this poor child and I was gonna ride them around in this bike, a bucket bike from the Netherlands, which is what happened. I called up a company in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I ordered a Dutch bakfiets, which is a bike with a big box in the front. And I've been riding her around on that for years and years now. This was back in 2007 when I got it. It arrived on a weekday in the evening, and I put it together that night at the Bike Oven and rode it home. And I remember, you know, crying tears of joy, really, because I felt like I was free. And there was a lot of social pressure on me not to do it at the time. My mom and dad and all my relatives were saying, you know, you're out of your mind. All this bike stuff's gone to your brain. You need to give it up, dude. You've lost it. You're going to put your kid in this contraption and ride around the city of Los Angeles. But I did it. Not at first, obviously. We had to wait till my daughter was around 18 months, 2 years old. And it was really more of a glorified stroller for the next 6 months. But when she got bigger and bigger, I figured out a way to get a foam mattress in the bottom of the box and then put a baby seat mount that we put in the car, an extra one in there, and we like lashed the baby seat to it. And I'd cruise around with my kid all around Lincoln Heights, where we've raised her. And about a year after she was born, the Beijing Olympics were taking place in 2008. And I have an older brother, it's a wild guy, my brother Adam, and he decided there was going to be Beijing Olympics Chinese fever, and he knew I was into bikes, and he had this crazy idea to bring all these bicycles from China, these famous communist-era bicycles, to LA. So we did, and that's how we got the bike shop off the ground. And that's why we call it the Flying Pigeon Los Angeles shop, because in the beginning, all we sold were these wacky flying pigeon bikes, which have old-fashioned metal rod brakes. I mean, they're just rolling antiques. All of this stemming from that first Critical Mass ride in 2005. My life had just taken this bizarre turn where I'd done everything I could to advance this narrative in my life that I was really into bicycles, and ignored. I mean, I'd lost girlfriends. I'd stopped talking to friends from high school. I stopped visiting my parents for a while. It was just this obsession, and it's turned into my livelihood. It's turned into the defining characteristic of my adult life. And now, you know, for my daughter as well, we rode here tonight on Boyle Avenue in the evening time. Well, it's not the evening time, but we rode here today to get to the shop, and we ride everywhere together. And riding together and riding by yourself, just riding in Los Angeles, you really get a feel for how unimportant you are as a human being when you're not in an automobile. And that feeling goes very, very deep. For a lot of people that grew up in this town, maybe in lots of other parts of America, you get this dark sense of, life can be harsh enough, and the natural world can be ambivalent enough to our well-being, but when humans make conscious decisions to put your life at risk through a really terrible street design or poor road maintenance, when they do install things on your behalf, like painted bike lanes, and they just do these atrocious things like take the bike lane away right at a freeway on-ramp. They, in fact, even have a bike lane going across a freeway on-ramp. All kinds of insane things. And when you look at other countries and see what they do, like in Denmark and Copenhagen, for example, how they treat cycling like any normal mode of getting around town. The beauty and the joy and the independence and the freedom is put in severe check by the way we do things here in Los Angeles. And the more I got involved in cycling as a livelihood, an avocation, as a calling to draw other people into the practice of it, the everyday cycling thing in Los Angeles, I started reading the municipal code. I read through a couple of city budgets. I read through the Metro budget, the agency that does transportation, their financial reports. And I read through the propositions that fund those agencies. And I started finding a lot of interesting things. I started finding big pools of money, millions of dollars, that were legally open to cycling, but that because of some bizarre unwritten policy were not part of what was going towards cycling and pedestrian projects. And I started writing about it. And I started attending public meetings and public hearings. And now this was way beyond just me being happy on a bike. This was me feeling like a muckraker, feeling like I could become a citizen of the city at least again. Maybe not the United States. I still wasn't there yet. I mean, we've been dropping bombs all over the planet, right? But I started growing this sense of responsibility that I'd spent years now, almost 10 years of my life, becoming as close as you can get to someone who graduated from, with a graduate degree from a university as an autodidact, and the interface of government finance, private interests, the politics and psychology around transportation planning and urban planning, and this synthesis of all these different things. I've led for about 9+ years, hundreds and hundreds of free community social bike rides to art galleries and restaurants. One of the ways we promoted the Flying Pigeon Bike Shop was this ride called the Dim Sum Ride, where we'd visit different Chinese dim sum restaurants, and that was incredibly popular. It got us national and international news. It was just a phenomenon. It was my brother's idea. I can't take credit for it. But the synthesis of all these things turned me into someone who has confidence in my ability to speak to the powerful interests that control, to have decisions that impact everybody's day-to-day life. How the streets are maintained and designed, how the parks are managed, how our schools manage transportation and the programming of different types of activities on and off campus. Anything you can imagine, really. It feels like the bicycling issue, the bicycling thing, was my entry point to an identity that has brought me to where I am today, where I saw someone in office who couldn't keep a promise to the neighborhood. I saw someone who was willing to subvert 2.5 years in the legal case for a certain bike project, but in my personal case, about 5 years of really hard advocacy work to get a bike lane and a road diet on a street called North Figueroa, where my business is located and where I commute just this morning, actually, with my daughter to take her to school, and I bring her back on that same street as well. It's about 5 years of really hard advocacy work, starting around 2009. And then this guy gets elected to office named Gil Cedillo, who's still in office. He kills that safety plan. And now all of these different issues that I've become an expert in, transportation planning and politics, civic engagement, PR, using social media, writing, making short videos, all of it comes together. And I say, you know what? I can do this. This guy doesn't have what it takes to understand the issues in this district, or he just doesn't care. And I do care, and there's thousands of people I've met that do care. And now it's not just cycling, it's that I'm an engaged, concerned citizen of this city of Los Angeles, and that's really what riding a bike in LA has meant for me. It's that I've been able to form a positive identity and self-image of myself as someone who can take care of my own needs, and I can grow a sense of responsibility for my community and try and work with others so that we can all take care of our own needs together. And that's really why I'm running for city council. I think the time is now. We've got an incompetent, I feel like not a very good guy in office who's willing to, for some bizarre political vendetta or reasons that are unknown to the civilized world, cancel safety plans all across the district, to shut down citizen voices in City Hall, who will use every means at his disposal to suppress the voices of the constituents in his district, using us as props for his PR events and really nothing else, making us all feel like little people, that I've got what it takes to completely 180 that, to go in the opposite direction, to build social capital, to build street safety, to make neighborhoods stronger, to make social connections stronger, to connect the resources, the millions of dollars that are being squandered on bizarre, bureaucratic make-works, misallocations of money that should be going to street safety and city services. And gosh darn it, I hope you get to the polls in March 2017, because Josef Bray-Ali is going to take it by, let's hope, a couple thousand votes in Los Angeles' Council District 1. So